All right, welcome to NFL Outdated Cover 2 series. This episode is on the Carolina Panthers. I am joined by Kevin Avery, the owner and creator of the Four Man Rush podcast. How's it going?
It's going great, Andy. How about yourself?
Hey, any day I get to talk about football is a good day, right? Oh, I think did we lose you a little bit? Do we still have you?
Yeah, I'm still here. Yeah, you kind
Okay,
of froze
perfect.
up.
Yeah. Well, here in Wisconsin, I am freezing up a little bit, and it's probably a little bit different in Carolina, the weather. But it when you look at the team, they started out. Speaking of temperatures, they started out hot. They went to cold. Talk a little bit about kind of that, swing. I mean, I don't know if you kind of, as fans and, kind of covering the team, if you, you know, thought that you really had a, solid quarterback in Sam Darnold. Talk a little bit about kind of that swing from hot to cold temperature wise that way.
Yeah, so with the season as we started out, you are what your record is. So we did start out 3-0, but even though we was 3-0, there were obvious issues that we had seen that were just being masked by the fact that our first three teams, we was able to take advantage of bad quarterback play by coming at them with a speedy, blitz-happy defensive package. For example, our first win was against the New York Jets, which was Sam Darnold's old team. We won 19-14. In that game, there were probably like 3 touchdowns left out on the field. The score was a lot closer than what it should have been. That should have easily been a blowout. It was just something that it's like, okay, we won, but sheesh, a little bit tighter than what we like. And then the second game, week 2, against a divisional rival, New Orleans Saints. Yeah, it says 26-7, but again, we were leaving a lot of points out there, a lot of missed wide open wide receivers and everything. Week 3, which was a Thursday night game against the Houston Texans, we won 24-9, but we didn't put that away to the fourth quarter. And they had a rookie quarterback. Can't think of his name, but they drafted him out of Stanford.
Davis Mills.
Yeah, and that was the game we lost our first round overall pick, J.C. Horn, in that game, and we also lost Christian McCaffery with a hamstring to that game. So that was a very, very costly game. We won 24-9, but the losses were injuries. I would have gave up I would have rather took a loss and had them healthy than to take the win. That's just me speaking selfishly as a fan. So even though we started off 3-0, the issues were obvious, and then we just got exposed by Dallas. I've been calling it Dallas blueprint. Basically, what Dallas did was they lined up in 12 personnel, which is 1 tight end, 2 running back. 1 running back, 2 tight ends. They went a lot of heavy personnel where they had additional alignment in the tight end spot, and they basically just ran the ball down our throats. I think they had like 247 yards rushing in that game.
Wow, yeah.
It was just pretty much that our defense is fast, but we also, excuse my language, kind of lighten the ass on our edge with Hassan Reddick and Brian Burns. And when I say lighten the ass, what I mean is off tackle runs. They're just not holding it. Like when they're pass rushing, yeah, they're a problem. Point of attack against a physical rushing attack. It just pretty much we just get our backs blown out. And that's actually what happened in the last game against our last team, the Washington football team. But if you look at our losses, the teams that beat us with a heavy punishing running attack. And it's just something that we just got to come up and fix. I know everybody's saying do their job and things like that. Personally, I like to see us, instead of using 30 fronts, which we've been using with just a 3-4 alignment, I prefer we actually switch to a 40 front with 4 down linemen, get some more beef up there. So when teams come out with these heavy packages, we're not getting, blown off the ball.
Yeah, absolutely. You talked about that Thursday game, and Thursday games are so weird. I've heard players talk about it just with, just getting out of the routines, and those were some huge injuries with, McCaffery and, Horn. It just, I don't know if that just, stalled the momentum of the team as well. I mean, if that was part of it as well, or.
I definitely think it played a part of it, as far as especially with McCaffrey, because McCaffrey with his all around ability, I mean, to both run and catch the ball. I mean, you're talking about when healthy, easily with a top 3 back in the league, who's just really hitting his prime right now. The guy, I can't even remember the last time he's at a drop, as a wide receiver when he's being a target. But I think that was a bigger loss offensively, as far as confidence for Darnold, than the loss of J.C. Horn, particularly because even when McCaffrey is used as a decoy, you got to be accountable. I mean, you're going to put a linebacker on him, okay, he's going to beat him off. You're going to use a safety or a cornerback, okay. His ability to run routes, which when he was in the combine, they say he ran a route tree just as good as any wide receiver that was out there as a running back. So he's really the ultimate, matchup problem. My issue was on such a short turnaround, 4 days between the Sunday game, home in New Orleans, and Thursday. That type of workload, 25, 30 touches a game, hamstrings are fatigue injuries. And I just think that either his workload versus New Orleans should have been cut in half, or he should have sat the game at Houston. But to give him a heavy workload, I just think that's what caused this is just me personally speaking, based on, playing football and knowing what the hamstring is, like I said, a fatigue injury. I just think those many touches and carries in a short amount of time, his body didn't heal, and that's what caused the injury, which caused him to miss 6 weeks.
Yeah, and that's huge when we talk about the offense. I mean, it's based on him, and but thankfully, in a way, I don't know if you kind of you saw this at it's Chuba Hubbard, right?
Yeah, Chuba Hubbard, yes.
It gave him kind of an opportunity to kind of fill in. And has he shown kind of that he can kind of be the back maybe in the future if Christian McCaffrey continues to have these problems?
With Chuba Hubbard, is actually mixed results. But
Mm.
and the reason why I'm saying that now, when it comes to running the ball, he has had a couple of fumbles that have been an issue, and pass blocking has been suspect at best.
Mm.
There's been some missed blitz assignments, and running back, it's just way more than just running the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the reasons why I think McCaffrey gets so many touches on the field so much, because he's good in all three. He can run the ball, he can catch the ball, and he's good with pass breakup. If you go back to the highlight week 1 against the Jet, that touchdown pass that Sam Darnold threw to Robbie Anderson, our right guard completely whiffed on the defensive tackle, and Christian McCaffrey was the one that blocked the defensive tackle long enough for Sam Darnold to throw that touchdown pass to Robbie Anderson. So, we got our 220-pound running back, blocking 320-pound defensive tackle. So, he understood his assignment, and he got the job done. Now, but yeah, that's the whole thing with Chuba Hubbard, and with this last game. I don't know if you paid attention to the stats. Chuba Hubbard didn't get hardly any carries. It's the other running back that we recently picked up at Mir. I think it's Amir
Abdullah.
Yes.
Okay, the former Detroit Lion.
Right.
I saw that he was on the special teams. I didn't realize he. Yeah. Okay, so he did get some carries then.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So transition with the running back depth was Amir Abdullah. Got more carry, got more reps than Chuba Hubbard. I just think Chuba just needs to get it together, because, like I said, running the when you can't pass block and it's on film, it makes it easier for defenses to attack you.
Mm-hmm. Well, it was so interesting. Are you are the Cardinals? Cardinals, are the Panthers missing Mike Davis? Like, he seemed to really kind of fill in when McCaffrey was down, and now that he's not there, like it's interesting because he really hasn't done much in Atlanta, and I don't know if it's just kind of him being in the Panthers system, that or maybe even the linemen that was the difference.
Yeah, as far as with Mike Davis, I think he was definitely a compliment, but his thing was he wanted a chance to finally start for a team, and he's from the Atlanta area, so why not go to my hometown and start for the team. Now, obviously, he hasn't had nowhere near the success he was able to duplicate with Carolina. You know, the Falcons have their own set of problems that they're dealing with here. But yeah, he definitely was. He definitely, if he would have managed to stay, he definitely would have been a perfect complement. You wouldn't have to change the plays at all. But I get it. You know, you're thinking, you know, rookie, you know, low salary cap, you know, bring him in. Chuba Hubbard in 2019 was a 2,000-yard rusher at Oklahoma State. He showed a lot of his versatility. So I can understand and I can see why. But again, you have to be efficient in all three phases: running, catching, and blocking as a running back.
Yeah, and so I mean, is that just kind of, you know, rookie mistakes then that he's making, or is it just kind of, you know, maybe deficiencies all around for him?
I'm gonna say it's rookie mistakes.
Yeah.
You know, it takes time. You know, you can't go from playing in the Big 12 where, you know, they don't hardly play any defense, you know, to
that's right though. Yeah, that's right.
You know, it's like an offensive show in the Big 12. So you definitely have to learn how to pass block as a running back, you know, which way to slide, you know, because you can block anywhere from a linebacker to a safety to a DN at any in any particular case. So it's definitely a skill set. It's more than just being front. You know, you have to know the right angles and everything. So I just think it's rookie mistakes. I think that in the off season, he'll work, hopefully train with Christian McCaffery. You know, I think that'll definitely get him right. And you know, help develop his game.
Absolutely. Well, we are at week 12. And if I had told you in the offseason, the beginning of the season even, that Cam Newton, Superman, would be returning, what would have your answer been?
At the beginning, I'd have been like, I don't really see it because we picked up Sam Darnold's fifth-year option, which we found out is a huge mistake.
Yeah.
You know, that's $18.5 million he's getting regardless of what happens. And crazy that we picked up his option without even seeing. I mean, that was picked up back in like April, May-ish, sometime like that. So it's just, you know, just saying that's one of the things I think that if they could have did anything over this offseason, that would have been it. But anyway, but far as Cam, as someone that was a Cam fan but understood the business size of why he was let go of the Carolina, I wouldn't have thought that was any way that he would return based on, you know, how things went. But I'm thankful that, you know, I don't have to say in that and that he's back.
Yeah, and I don't know. It was interesting, I just didn't seem like a really good match altogether for him in the Patriot system. Anyway, you know, has he? I mean, he scored some touchdowns already. Has he really kind of lost a few steps, or what are you seeing kind of already early on in his return?
I'm seeing a healthy Cam Newton. To be honest with you. You know, reason why I'm saying that because, you know, if you look at his 24-yard touchdown run, you know, you're saying lost a step. He was running away from linebackers and secondary. Now, obviously, you have to make business decisions. 250 running at you, of course. You know, but I don't see anything slow. Now, is he as fast as he was when he first came into league? Obviously, no. But as you get older, you redefine your game. And I think that he's still effective. You was talking about his role in New England. He did have 12 rushing touchdowns with New England, along with 8 passing touchdowns. Now, I know his passing numbers, you know, in New England wasn't all that to, you know, brag on. 8 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. But when you think about came in late, you know, had a bout with COVID. You know, the Patriots cupboard was bare of weapons. Again, not making, you know, excuses, but just, you know, calling it for what it is. You know, the cupboard was bare, and already with, you know, not even 2 weeks in Carolina, he's already accounted for 5 total touchdowns, 3 passing and 2 rushing touchdowns. So that's definitely something. That's definitely something that I'm glad. And I had actually did a tweet on my Twitter page here. I was saying that what I hoped for out of Cam Newton was the 2018 version of Cam before he got that nasty hit from TJ Watt in Pittsburgh in that Thursday night game.
Yeah.
And I actually did a side-by-side comparison Cam, that 2018 season, that first game, week 1 against Dallas, he was 17 for 26, 219 yards and 1 touchdown. It was 1 rushing, no passing. And this past game, his first full complete game, he was 21 of 27 passing, 235 total yards and 3 touchdowns. So it was just one game, but, I'm going to be tracking to see, his progress moving forward. If he's, because the 2018 version of Cam Newton pre-injury is good enough to have an offensive position to get to the playoffs.
Yeah. Well, and does he have, or even in 2018, was he still having, some lingering effects from that car accident? How long ago was that? I'm trying to remember because that was a pretty bad car accident too.
Car accident was 2014.
Yeah. So I guess it was a while ago.
Yep. Yeah. So that was he only missed like a game for that. I think Derek Anderson started and won the game against the Bucks. I think they played at Tampa. Yeah, they played at Tampa that game. And I think we won something like 14-9, low scoring game, but hey, we pulled it out.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was 4 years before 2018, back in 2014.
Yeah. So he's had time. Yeah. You think of kind of his, running style and just how, over time that has to wear on the body, definitely. And, but you talked about, when you get an older quarterback, you find kind of different ways and, you get smarter as a quarterback, it seems. Yep.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and with Cam, Cam's still going to run. I mean, physically, like I said, I saw nothing, from him running that made me think, oh, he's past his prime here. He did have like 10 carries that he ran. And, with Cam Newton from 2011 to 2019, when he carried the ball 8 times or more, the Panthers had like a 74% winning percentage. So, Cam running the ball, at least, getting at least 8 carries a game has always been a winning formula. Now, obviously, it didn't work out for us because, our defense shit the bed.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Giving up 190 yards rushing to the Washington, who only gave up 93 yards the week earlier, to Tampa. But, hey. But as far as Cam, I have no problems with him running, read option, quarterback power, quarterback draws, like that touchdown to DJ Moore. That was a perfect example of how his running game is respected. He brought the linebacker up, and that opened up the slant to DJ Moore for the touchdown. So just the threat of Cam running is going to create a mismatch somewhere that if we execute it, we can take advantage of.
Absolutely. Well, what do you make of this whole kind of quarterback situation going into next year? I mean, do they bring Cam back? I mean, Sam Darnold's going to be there. I don't know if they release him and do they pick someone in the draft, or what do you make of this whole situation going into next year?
All right. Well, being someone that was close here and following the local sources, and plus I kind of have a couple of people in the Panthers front office that, leak stuff to me periodically as well.
Nice.
When they met with Cam, both wanted multiple years. Cam wanted 3 years. Panthers wanted 2. More money was on the table if they took a 1-year deal. So it's kind of like, okay, I'm gonna bet on myself. I know I'm coming in middle of season, but there's definitely interest in both of this being more than just a rental for the rest of this year. So I'm definitely positive about that. But as far as what I think should go forward, I definitely think that Cam should be re-signed. If he continues to show and elevate, because like I said, 2 weeks ago, he was eating cereal with his kids.
Right.
And 2 weeks later, now he's got 5 touchdowns in 2 games. So,
yeah.
I and get to the bye week and let him get that timing, that chemistry down with the team, and then come out for that last stretch of 5 games. I think that there's the chance, the opportunity is there to get on a run because we still been undefeated in the NFC South. We still control our own destiny, even though we're at 5-6.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, in this, even in the AFC, both AFC and NFC, it's just kind of an interesting mess right now to really find a team. I mean, you think it's Tampa Bay, but they, have some losses, and so it's really it's interesting that when you look at it. So Carolina does kind of have a path to the playoffs then.
Yeah, definitely do. Yeah, there's definitely a path there because, we can go down here and get this win in Miami, which I do plan on flying down there myself and,
Very
I'm
nice.
going there because one of my other four-man rush business partners, he lives in Miami. He's from Charlotte, but he got a job down in Miami, and he's been living it up. Not mad. Single guy living in a condo in Miami downtown. Hey,
Nice.
worst things in life, right?
Absolutely.
But yeah, if we can go down there and get that win and get back here 6-6 with a bye week, get everybody back healthy. Because something dropped today. J.C. Horn was actually on the Panthers practice field today in a red jersey.
Really?
Right. So just him out there and just been seeing him walking and moving around. His injury was saying 8 to 12 weeks. 12 weeks would put him right around those last two games on the road at New Orleans January the 2nd and at Tampa January the 9th. And potentially if we can sneak and get a playoff push, it wouldn't be ruled out. I know people be like, man, how many cornerbacks do they need? But
you never have too many, especially facing Tom Brady. Never.
Right. Yeah, definitely. When you can be able to go cover one, play man coverage, when they play those 4 or 5 wide receiver sets, and not rely on zone, which Tom Brady just picks apart. It's definitely confident when you can have your cornerbacks play inside and out, follow whoever is their favorite. It's good to finally be in that position because the history of cornerbacks with the Panthers hasn't been too kind for us since Josh Norman left.
That's right.
And up on the field snow, we're definitely playing a lot more man coverage, cover 1, cover 2 man, because before we was playing a lot of cover 3, cover 2 zone. So the fact that, instead of teams picking us apart with zone, we're able to mix it up now.
Yeah, talk about some of those key defensive players that are actually that are healthy right now that are going to be playing in the next week or in this week.
Yeah, as far as our injury report here goes, it usually comes out on I think it came out today because today is Wednesday. The only person that didn't practice was our cornerback, defensive back Miles Hartsfield.
Okay.
Our 2 guards, John Miller, he was limited, and Dennis Daly, he has a glute, but he was a full participant. So we really have a real short injury report list coming in as far as injuries overall, but nobody. Miles Hartsfield was the only defender. He's more like a nickel safety type that we can move around. But as far as the main key defensive, Derek Brown needs a bounce back game because former Panther Tyler Lawson, he whooped his ass. Just to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I mean, he was getting single block, and it's not that Derek Brown is a bust or anything like that. When you play in the trenches, because the trenches is where I really home in my knowledge and my skill, you have to play. I don't care how much size and strength you have, you're not going to be able to muscle guys around in the league. And if you don't if you don't play with leverage, if you don't play with good footwork, if you don't keep your hands active, you'll get moved right on out the way. And that's pretty much what Washington did. They if you go back and look at the type of running plays that they got yardage on, you say they look like they're running the same play over and over. And they literally were, because they could single block our defensive line and just get them out the way. But yeah, Derek Brown needs a bounce back game. Our defensive tackles as a whole, really our whole entire defensive line, because as good as pass rush, as I mentioned earlier, Brian Burns, who could play DN in a 40 front or outside linebacker in a 30 front, he was getting blown off the ball too. Hassan Reddick, even though he's leading outside linebackers in sacks, he was getting blown off the ball too. So again, our defense at its strength plays good when we're ahead. If we can get up 14, 17 points, Phil Snow can release the dogs and we can cause all kind of havoc. But if teams decide to stick with the run, that's where we're having issues. So that's the Achilles heel right now for us.
Well, I mean, you look at the Dolphins coming up, and they don't necessarily have a potent running attack. I mean, Gaskin and but that is that sounds like that definitely is something that they need to really focus on. And Shaq Thompson, has he been decent this year as well?
Yeah, Shaq has definitely stepped it up as one of the defensive leaders in his team. He's really been playing you could tell that the light just came on for him, and he's really excelled. You can tell that he played with Luke Kuechly and Thomas Davis for all those years, and it's just like all of a sudden it's just all clicking from him. I mean, from making plays in the run game, he's already has 2 interceptions this season, which he only had 1 for his career coming into this year. He's been flying around, rarely out of place. So he's definitely someone that's showing that leadership on the team. That's been here his 6th year on the team.
And that's huge, and talk about like, someone who's new on the team and this whole in-season trade for Stephon Gilmore. Has he talk about how he's kind of like coming to the team? Like, is he kind of starting? Is he kind of still working his way in, or where's he at?
He's still working his way in.
Yeah.
He's still working with that glute. That was the reason why we didn't see him full time. I remember a lot of Panther fans as I was watching the game, because I'm a PSL owner, so I have been since 2011. So I got the same seat, haven't missed a game since 2011.
Nice.
But yeah, so I was reading Twitter, and a lot of fans were like, why is Stephen Gilmore not on McLaurin? He's cooking Dante Jackson. What's going on? And they're Matt Rhule and them said that they're Gilmore's kind of on a pitch count. That they want to ease him back into it. But let's give credit to McLaurin. McLaurin is a hell of a receiver. He just plays on Washington, and they're 3-6, but he's one of the better receivers in the league. So
absolutely,
whoever was guarding him, he was putting in that work. So let's just give credit where credit's due. But as far as Gilmore goes, though, I think that he's going to be a future play re-signed with the team. His wife, believe it or not, who's active on Twitter, she made it known. I've been trying to get him to come back to Charlotte for years. I'm home, and fellas, we know happy wife, happy life. Now it's still a business. Money has to be put on the table, but if he's willing to take a little hometown discount, maybe 12, 13 million instead of 15, 16, I think that'll be a win-win. For the Panthers. I mean, clearly his first 2 games, 2 interceptions. That one against Atlanta to close the game in Atlanta, which I was at. That was just class. He basically ran the route for Kyle Pitts and just snatched it away from him. So you're talking about somebody that was the 2019 Defensive Player of the Year, not that long ago. And he's from the area. He played high school ball in a city called Rock Hill, South Carolina, which is going to be the home of our new Panthers headquarters that's being built. But he played football there, and he went to college at the University of South Carolina. So he got all the reasons to want to come back home and finish out his career in Carolina.
Yeah, I guess, that is a great, mix there. I mean, and I don't know, how many, free agents have really kind of flocked to Carolina in the past. I mean, but that is a great kind of local connection there. And, Carolina has been known for the defense in the past, as well. I mean, you got, Luke Kuechly, I'm sure that was tough when he retired.
Definitely.
And just to kind of get the defense back there. And, I mean, when you look at, some of the other players, like going back to kind of the offense, going back to, there's really a decent core of wide receivers then, when we talked about, Cam Newton and kind of, getting that chemistry with some of the teammates and especially the wide receivers. Talk about, more, maybe even Terrace Marshall Jr. and Robbie Anderson. Obviously Robbie Anderson wasn't very happy with Sam Darnold. So is he happy now, with Cam?
His facial expressions, pretty much have said it all. I think he's very happy. Because with Sam Darnold, there was a stat that was put out by NFL Next Gen Stats, and it said Robbie Anderson was number 2 and DJ Moore was number 5 as far as wide receivers with the most missed targeted air yards. And what that stat means is the number of yards that they were wide open and never got the ball thrown their way. And both Panther receivers under Sam Darnold were 2 and 5 in the league. Like I told you at the very beginning, we left a lot of points out there. Robbie and DJ Moore easily should have 5 or 6 touchdowns apiece, but because of the quarterback play, just hasn't materialized, which led to a lot of the frustration. So I think it was good that Cam's first game back in Arizona, he got that touchdown to Robbie, even though it wasn't a big statistical thing, but just from a confidence, just from reassurance, like, hey, I see what's going on. We're going to work on this. I got you. I think it was real good to build that. And then, when they had the press conference together, with each other after that, that was pretty cool as well.
Absolutely. And DJ Moore, he's kind of the clear cut number one, or is there not really a clear cut number one?
Here's the thing about DJ Moore. It's definitely something that's talked about a lot among Panther fans.
Mm-hmm.
DJ Moore has wide receiver number one, build, ability, and everything. But when you really break down his numbers and when he gets his yards and his catches, it's not always consistent with being an impact player early and often. He's had some drops. He had a fumble issue before. He'll have games where you see him catch and he turns into a running back and he's off. We just gotta, just get him out in space. He's definitely a yak monster. So how can I put it? He could be a number one with being more productive, but at the same time, you got to look at it. Since he's got here, he's been with 7 different quarterbacks.
Yeah. Yep.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, Cam, and then when Cam left, Kyle Allen, Taylor Heineke, then Teddy Bridgewater, Sam Darnold, PJ Walker, and now Cam back again. So I kind of look at it as, when has he ever had that consistent quarterback connection to get with here? So for me, even though I said that, and he does need to do more to step up because he did, but I also got to factor that in as well. Like I said, look at the whole content behind, what's going on.
Absolutely. And Robbie Anderson's also talented. And where does Terrace Marshall Jr. fit in? Because in like fantasy drafts and things like that, and he was kind of looked at as, I think I heard a lot from Camp to say that he was really a solid player. Is he where does he fit in that core there?
Terrace Marshall had a very strong preseason.
That's what
if I'm thinking, he was I think either number 1 or number 2, like in both I think yards and touchdowns or whatever scored. So he definitely felt like that he was putting out a warning. Again, with the quarterback play, that this really hasn't transferred over. The talent is definitely there. The kid is definitely talented. Like when he was recruited to LSU, he was up there with the Jamar Chases and the other guys that came
Jefferson, right?
Jefferson,
yeah,
really talented. So it's not a drop off there as well. But he was battling some injuries. We brought him back slowly. I just think that because if I think correctly, he caught the 2-point conversion in Arizona from Cam when we was out there. But he did have a drop this past game. So I just think he's just having the ups and downs with a rookie season. But definitely from a fantasy point of view, might not get what you want this year, but he's a guy to keep your eye on moving forward. The talent is hugely there. And depending on, if we're able to at a cost-effective price or not, that could also be playing to a factor as well. Because now he has talent to be, quote, a number 1 receiver as well.
Sorry, that was Robbie Anderson?
No, I was talking about Terrace Marshall.
Oh, so Terrace is, yeah. And so how much longer are Moore and Anderson there? Are they going to be kind of coming off the books soon, or looking for a payday as well? Or
well, Anderson just he resigned early this year.
Okay,
this was his.
Yeah.
He started off with a 2-year last year, 2 years, $20 million, and then we got him a 2-year, $29 million extension. So right now he's still playing on his 2nd year, and he got 2 more years after this. So Robbie Anderson is secured. DJ Moore is coming into his 4th year. Do have that fit, which could be a huge factor because the salary cap, and I don't know how much you guys keep up with it, but those big TV contracts that just recently got signed, the salary cap is going to take a huge growth in 2023. And that's why you saw a lot of players taking short deals because they're looking at that money that's coming in with that new TV contract money. And that led to a lot of the hold up with the Dak Prescott situation because he was also seeing, that money coming down the pike as well. So, that's why Hassan Reddick took a 1-year deal. Morgan Fox took a 2-year deal. Guys was just, I'm going to show you what I can do. But then when this money come, let's negotiate.
Absolutely. Here. Well, speaking of kind of like negotiating and maybe, finding something, talk about like finding a tight end. I mean, in the, Gilmore trade, they traded away a tight end, I believe. And who's kind of the tight end that they're kind of, really looking for? I mean, is there, um, you got, I mean, Tommy Tremble's there, Ian Thomas. I mean, are those really kind of the answers at tight end, or not?
Again, this is something that we discuss in depth. Here's the thing: the talent at tight end is actually there to produce, but the question is, does a Joe Brady offense feature the tight
Mm,
end? Because one thing about Joe Brady's offense, he schemed guys wide open, but yet when do you see the tight ends really get targeted and featured? Now, even when we had Teddy Bridgewater, I think our tight ends were like bottom 5 in the league, with receptions and catches. But as far as individual talent, when you look at it, even though I wasn't a fan of the pick because I thought we drafted him too high, I do
hmm
think Tommy Tremble is someone that can grow and develop. I think he definitely has the skills. Now, I'm not saying that he's going to be like this guy, but he kind of comes in the same way a few years ago the 49ers got George Kittle. He was known as just a blocking tight end. He wasn't known as a stud catching route receiver, but he had the athleticism, he had the hands, and Tommy Tremble, again, I'm not saying he's going to be George Kittle, but he shows a lot of the same type of coming in as a someone that wasn't highly sought at that could potentially, if he gets featured, and that's the key because with this Joe Brady offense, even at LSU, we even went back and looked because I think they had Randy Moss's son playing there as well.
That's
He'll have a
right.
few catches there, but it's never been featured. But I think with Cam Newton back, Cam loved his tight ends. When he started, he had Jeremy Shockey and of course, Greg
Greg
Olsen.
Olson. Yep.
And
Yep.
both of those guys, really produced. We saw the 19-yard, catch that Tommy Tremble had, in this past game. So I think the talent is there. Ian Thomas, in his fourth year contract year. He's developed a very good blocker. He has nice hands. I think there's talent there to make the tight end threat, the tight end position serviceable, but it just doesn't get featured.
And it's interesting you brought up Joe Brady. How much longer is he even going to be there? To be a factor, even. I mean, he could get scooped up. I hear, right?
It's like, okay, his name came out hot again. I think he's living
Yeah,
a lot out of that 2019 season with LSU. He did
absolutely.
go on a couple of interviews last year, but didn't get a second interview. His name was mentioned, this year as a possible replacement, for LSU after they agreed to release Ed Oregon. But and then they end up going, somewhere else. At one point it was thought that he potentially, if Cincinnati fired their coach, he could reunite with Joe Brady in Cincinnati. But Cincinnati's been winning this year, so I don't think,
hmm
that it would be fit there. So I just think Joe Brady's going to be sticking around. Many think, and honestly, I think he needs to because here's the thing with Joe Brady's play calling that he schemes guys open. He runs a lot of man beating routes when teams, play man and things like that. But sometimes he gets cute with his play calling. Sometimes it can be kind of predictable. But then again, I have to take in the other factors. You got Sam Darnold, who's a
hmm
bottom 5 quarterback.
hmm
And for the first 6-7 games of the season, our offensive line was bottom 5 in both pass block win rate and run block win rate. So when you got a bottom 5 O line and a bottom 5 QB, you have to try to scheme around those weaknesses. So, they basically had to dumb the playbook down, for Donald to try to get his confidence and everything going. And when you have to babysit a quarterback in the NFL, it just leaves you exposed. So
hmm
I think Brady is capable of being better. The play calling this last week, we lost against Washington, was beautiful. I still think they need to figure out how to use Cam, but I just think that, and I think during that bye week that I mentioned earlier, we can get to. I think that's when they really gonna, open up the Cam box per
Right,
se.
right.
That's
No,
what I'm looking
yeah.
forward to. So, but Joe Brady, I think that he's going to be around in Carolina at least another year or two.
Well, speaking of coaches, Matt Rhule, he definitely rocketed to stardom as well. Is he like a competent NFL head coach? I mean, it's really tough to kind of, as an outsider, to kind of really see, what he's doing, or what the fan base, everyone kind of thinks about him.
it's definitely a mixed bag with Matt Rhule. Reason being, when he was introduced, the plan that owner David Tepper and him told us was it's going to be a rebuild, but year 3 is the year that under Matt Rhule's history where he's got that playoff team, that team that's contending. So it's kind of like, let us get through these first 2 years, and then boom, it's where. And as a fan, because the Panthers are the only team of all 32 teams that have never had back-to-back winning seasons above 500. We're the only team yet to have done that. So I would love to get that monkey off our backs. It was something that I would most definitely, like to do. But, with Matt Rhule, I think he's finding out that a lot of the ways that he had success in college is not working.
Mm-mm.
For example, first day of free agency, what did we do? We signed Pat Elflein and Cam Irvin to play offensive line. I thought that was like, are we signing depth guys day one? Like this, these were not the type of guys. And then to find out that they, ended up being starters and were like playing like really horrible for us. It was just like, oh, well, we like his athleticism and this and third. So,
yeah.
With Matt Rhule's background, because he was at Temple and Baylor, he didn't get a lot of the 5-star recruits. But what he did was took 2 and 3-star recruits, featured their athleticism, coached them up, and was able to have success with it. In NFL, it doesn't work that way. You got to have talent. So a lot of the players that he's brought in outside of knowing them are players who got really high athletic scores, like a Cam Irvin, and things like that. But athleticism only gets you so far. You got to be nasty, spit on people, and gouge people in the eyes to play in the trenches.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
You can be fast all day and great athleticism, but if you're not coming with that pop, that thunder behind your block, what I'm saying, you get put on your ass.
Well, yeah, and as a Bears fan, I've kind of seen that it's just been a patchwork offensive line for so many years, and that makes a difference. I mean, you talked about dumbing the playbook down for the quarterback, but a lot of times you have to really scheme away from your offensive linemen, and saw that with the Bears versus the Browns. They weren't doing that. I mean, they almost got Fields killed right away because they weren't doing what they were pulling. Jason Peters and great. He's been a great lineman, but he's old. And they just weren't doing it, and so that does make a difference.
Yeah, it definitely does. So, and it's the fact that the mixed message with Matt Rhule is that right now the Panthers are leading the league in penalties, which you never want to do. But the talent is there, but that all comes down from coaching, and you got to be a leader of men. This stuff, like I said, the stuff that worked in college. If he's honest with himself and reevaluates this season, he's going to realize that he needs to step it up. And do more things that are NFL centric. With it, this lineman, has a high 3-cone drill, whatever. Or whatnot. Can he remove this man from this spot so my running back can get untouched? Because, with the last game in Arizona, Christian McCaffery, I don't know if you saw this stat or not, he led the NFL in week 10 as far as having 2.9 yards before he ever got touched. You get a Christian McCaffery 3 yards past the line screen before he was touched, you in trouble. Which is why he was averaging 6-7 yards a carry. So when you can generate that type of offensive line, that makes the game so much easier for everybody. It makes it easier for your running back, your quarterback, and everybody. And, we had to make some changes to our offensive line. Some of the guys that started out early in the season that Matt Rhule kind of hung his hat on, after realizing they're not effective, had to move around. Like right now, Pat Elflein, when he came back from his injury, because of the season injury to Matt Pettis, we had to put him at center. He's played a whole lot better at center than he was playing at left guard. Someone that we picked up off the couch, Michael Jordan from the Cincinnati Bengals practice squad. He's been by far our best, nastiest lineman at left guard. And the Panthers in the last 4 weeks, earlier I was talking about we was bottom 5 pass block rate. Since he's been playing the last 4 weeks, we're now in the top 5 if you just look at the last 4 weeks. Panthers have only given up 2 sacks in the last 4 games. So it makes a huge difference when you got guys in there that are nasty, that set the tone, that can move the pile, that block to the whistle, versus guys that's out there pity patting, and just dancing around. No, move this guy out the damn way. Let my running back come through. So I just think that Matt Rhule needs to really look at his methods this offseason and make the proper adjustments.
Well, speaking of kind of setting the table, kind of looking at the 2022 draft needs, is it really kind of a offensive lineman? Is that where they need to go, or what do they need to really focus on? I mean, probably a lot.
It's interesting with our draft situation because, for one, as of right now, we don't currently have any day 2 picks. We traded our 2022 second round pick to the Jets for Sam Darnold. And we traded away our 2022 third round pick to Jacksonville for CJ Henderson. So currently where we stand, all we do is got a first round pick, and then we just got I think we got a bunch of day 3 picks, 4th, 5th, and 6th round picks. So when it comes to it, where it currently stands, do we trade back to try to add some day 2 picks, depending on where we end up at? Or do we stay where we at and pick up an offensive lineman? Which, if we re-sign Cam, I think it takes the pressure off going ahead and using that on a quarterback. Even though this would be a very nice class to get that future quarterback to learn and sit behind Cam. So I'm kind of 50-50 quarterback or offensive tackle. But I don't think we can go wrong either way. I just think that with the free agency situation, the type of linemen that we need that I mentioned are going to be available. And, with our capologist, Samir Suleiman, who came down from Pittsburgh, who is a master at restructuring these contracts where players get that money, but it doesn't handicap the team. If he's able to negotiate these type of contracts, we can bring in the type of players that can really force us to not to be in position of best player available instead of drafting for a need, which usually backfires on you.
Absolutely. And so does it matter when you kind of look at the season then, like as far as, the drafting, like, yeah, I'm a Bears fan, and I went into the season not, thinking that the Bears were going to do much. So like, I wasn't looking for, them to make the playoffs. I just knew they weren't going to. Unfortunately, with the Bears, they don't have their first round pick. With the Panthers, when you look at, the season and, just kind of maybe making the playoffs and getting kind of a, just a middle, round, first round pick. I mean, does that matter? That might be a good place to find an offensive lineman. I don't know.
Because the fan of me want to see us win, this season, going to late and get a playoff push, that likely mean that first round pick could be in the 20s, potentially. Depending on how the rest of the season go, it's either going to be a top 10 pick or a mid 20 pick.
There's a huge range there.
Yeah, if this defense don't act right, it's going to be a top 10 pick. But as the defense act right and Cam gets this playbook, then I think we're looking at still in one of those 3 wild card playoff spots, which we're only a game out of now. Like I say, still division coming in. But as far as like the potential of the pick, there's some offensive tackles that I would like to have. There's one particular at the University of Georgia. I think his name is Jameer Kelly. He's like their left tackle. I think he's potentially someone that could potentially be there in that first round, potential where we could draft. The one from Alabama, I think he's just out of range. He's going to be a top 5 pick. So I think he'll be Evan Neal. I think he's going to be gone long before we draft him. But like I say, either offensive tackle or QB in the first round, I think would be a good move for us. Because even if we resign Cam, whoever we get, let him sit behind and learn. Give Cam, like I say, 2-3 years. Let him see what he can do and let him learn.
Yeah. And, it is interesting, you kind of talk about learning and, with some of the defensive players, if they do make the playoffs, maybe that is helpful for them to kind of learn that atmosphere, so it is interesting that they have such a, wide range of possibilities. And it's, when you look at it, I mean, it is in front of them. I mean, schedule wise, I mean, especially, playing Tampa Bay twice, Buffalo. Well, Buffalo, it's going to be, who knows about Buffalo now.
Right.
But New Orleans. So it really,
Atlanta.
yeah. And you never know what can happen in the NFL. And so the Panthers, they have it there. And they have an opportunity. So.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely got opportunity. Without being biased as a fan, I'm looking at it as, because, this was a winnable game against Washington, but like I said, the defense shit the bed.
Yeah.
But as far as like I said, we can get the 6-6, beating Miami, getting us by. I like us against Atlanta, coming to Charlotte, a chance to sweep them for the first time since, I believe, 2013, 2014. It's been a long. Falcons have our number. Like overall in the series, I think they're up like 33 games to 19. Like we could sweep them for the next 5-6 years and they still have a lead. So it just annoys me, about the Falcons, but it is what it is. The following week at Buffalo, depending on the weather, I mean, December in Buffalo, but the team that just got thrashed at home by the Colts, it's just like, wow, okay. Josh Allen would come in the season hyped as a potential MVP candidate. And he's been looking a lot more pedestrian, and them really not having a true running game with him being primarily responsible for the run. I mean, what coming into the season seemed as probably a sure loss now seems a little bit more winnable as we get closer to it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you look at Tampa. When division, I get it as Tampa, but when it's a division rivalry, records go out the window.
Mm-hmm.
Don't like them. Anything's possible. That's the day after Christmas. It's in Charlotte. Now, with the type of secondary got, I no longer fear Tampa Bay's wide receiver core, because we could put out a Stephon Gilmore, a Dante Jackson, AJ Bouye, our 5th-round pick. Keith Taylor has been probably one of the biggest surprises for us. CJ Henderson, who we traded for, he's been playing a lot better lately. So we can match up with the Godwins, the Evans, Now, Antonio Brown is a different beast as his 3rd wide receiver, but I just don't feel that, desperate feeling no more. I feel like we can line up secondary-wise with any wide receiver core in the NFL.
Well, and who knows if Antonio Brown's going to be healthy enough. He's been, out, so much, and I don't know if he's going to be healthy. Tell you what, and in a really, I mean, this is thinking, way in advance, but I like to see interesting matchups. If the Panthers kind of got in the playoffs, do you think they would have it in them to kind of make it, especially with Cam coming, like a run to the Super Bowl? I mean, is that possible? Is that kind of in, because it would be so interesting to see. And the way the Patriots are playing now, I mean, they're going, they could be a Super Bowl. That would be a really juicy matchup. Right?
Yeah, that would be a headline monster. I mean, they're currently in first place in their division.
Yeah.
Like I say, that's what I love about the NFL. As crazy as it sounds, it's actually a possibility because things can happen, things unforeseen. Coming into the season, Miami and Buffalo were considered the favorites for the AFC East, but look who's sitting atop right now at this moment. Miami is starting to trend up, even though they're 4-7. They won their last 3. So this won't be an easy game for us heading down there. By no stretch of it. We've lost our right to assume any game as a, quote, easy win. It's going to be a dogfight. But talent for talent, scheme for scheme, we are the better team. We just got to play like it when we go down there. Don't get caught up in the 82-degree weather and the women on South Beach. Let's go down for here. Let's handle this business. Get back to this cold weather in Charlotte and start our bye week. But like I said, but best case scenario, defense gets right, Cam gets played, but we could definitely sneak in and be a wild card team that can cause a lot of noise. Personally, if we did, I want to go back to Dallas. We owe Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
I got no problem saying I want Dallas if we go back. If we are able to make it in.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be an interesting season, and this has been great. I could definitely talk, football all night, and I definitely appreciate your time. And once again, where can everyone find you?
Yeah, sure. You can find me personally on my Twitter. That's FOMR_country, but that's with a K, KOUNTRY, Kev, KEV. Here as well. You can also find our main 4-man rush page at the number 4 OURMANRUSH. But definitely go to our website if nothing else. www.the the number 4 man rush rush.com. You'll find all our social media links there: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can find our podcast on iTunes, Spotify. We're on all the major social media outlets where you can get access to us. We have film breakdown that you can check out as well on our YouTube footage. We have blog writers with the 4-man rush that definitely give a thorough breakdown. So yeah, just definitely come on through. We pride ourselves on just being football friends to just tell the whole story, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. We just want the truth and the content behind the truth to be put out about our team.
Absolutely. And I know I've learned a ton, and I definitely appreciate your time. Thanks again, Kevin. And once again, this is NFL Outdated Cover 2 series on the Carolina Panthers. And thanks again. And what do they say for the Panthers? Is it the
keep pounding?
Keep pounding. That's what it is. That is all right. Thanks again, Kevin.
All right, you too.